Okay, today we're going to start section 4.3, changes in demand. We're just going to do learning objective 1, which is identify the determinants of demand and explain how a change affects the demand curve. Tomorrow we'll do learning objective 2, which is distinguish between the money price and the time price of a good. So first of all, learning objective 1, changes that shift the demand curve. As you can see, there are a lot of them. There's a lot of information in this lesson. So that demand curve is the graph, okay? And a demand curve isolates the relationship between price and quantity demanded when other factors that could affect demand are assumed constant. So the demand curve isolates the relationship between price and quantity demanded. Remember, we talk about pizza a lot. You know, at $4, people will buy more pizzas than at $12. These other factors are often referred to as determinants of demand. So first of all, we've got 5 different ideas on top. Consumer income, the prices of related goods, the number and composition of consumers, consumer expectations, and consumer tastes. So those are the 5 things we're going to study today, and then finish up with movement along a demand curve versus a shift of the curve. So really we have 6 things to learn today. First of all, changes in consumer income. Consumers' money income is assumed to remain constant along a demand curve. So your money hasn't changed. If you're looking at a demand curve or even a demand schedule, like your income, if the schedule or the curve is about you, your money income is constant. You didn't get a raise during this time. You didn't get laid off your job. You didn't get fired. You didn't quit. Your money income is assumed to remain constant. Suppose money income increases. Some consumers are then willing and able to buy more of an item at each price. So the market demand increases. The demand curve shifts to the right. Okay? We'll talk about what it looks like for a demand curve to shift to the right in a minute. An increase in demand, a rightward shift of the demand curve. We have a rightward shift of the demand curve means that consumers are more willing and able to buy pizza at each price. So we have normal goods and inferior goods. Normal goods increase as money income increases, and inferior goods decrease as money income increases. I mean, I just think about my family and pizza. We do think of Little Caesars as inferior, and maybe Domino's as normal good, or Johnny Brusco's on an awesome day. We'll stop by and pick up a pizza. But as you get more money, you're willing to buy more expensive goods, the normal goods. You know, as you get more money, inferior goods may fall off. You don't buy them as much. You would consider just pizza being a normal good. So its demand curve shifts rightward when money income increases. Most goods are normal goods. An inferior good would be, examples of inferior goods include like bologna sandwiches, used furniture, used clothing, trips to the laundromat, taking a bus instead of driving a car. Those would all be inferior goods. Let's discuss this for a second. I know most of you don't remember because you weren't old enough, but in 2008, a stimulus bill was passed. President Bush passed a stimulus bill to try to get the economy going again. So people who paid income taxes received a rebate of at least $300. I remember that happened when my daughter was a baby, and we bought a brand new TV. It was fun. It was our first flat screen. So that was, you know, a way that the Shell-Hammers sort of invested in the economy, and the stimulus bill did what it was supposed to. It made us buy something, which helped the economy better. So it's hard to do on a video, but we could discuss what this would have done to the demand for most normal and most inferior goods. The normal goods being a TV. You know, we bought a new TV. If we were trying to scrimp and save during that time, buying brand products, like store brand anything. As we get more money, we buy less of the inferior goods. Describe how increased income would have affected demand for movie tickets and restaurant meals. If you have more income, you're more willing to go out for dinner and a movie versus stay home and watch television, or even stop by Redbox and get a movie for $1.50. So increased income affects demand for a lot of things that we may think are frivolous. Why might it have had less of an impact on the sale of board games and other at-home forms of entertainment? Board games, you get them out of your closet. You sit down and you play. You might have some fun snacks or anything, but it doesn't really cost you any. We have to get a sitter to go out and watch a movie or go out to a nice restaurant. That costs even more money, but we often stay home and we'll play a board game with the family and make some popcorn. So depending on how much money you have, what your real income is, you make those decisions on what you want to do. Changes in the prices of related goods. We've assumed that the prices of other goods remain constant along a given demand curve. Let's not assume that now. So we have substitutes. Substitutes are products that can be used in place of each other. Consumers choose among substitutes partly on the basis of relative prices. Tacos versus pizza. Substitutes are even. Two goods are substitutes if an increase in the price of one shifts the demand curve for the other rightward. And again, we'll talk about how the demand curve shifts right and left in a little bit. So tacos versus pizza. We've talked about if Little Caesar starts having a sale where you can get a whole pizza for $2. You may stop there versus Taco Bell during lunch one day. Two goods are also substitutes if a decrease in the price of one shifts the demand curve for the other leftward. Sorry, I just gave you that example. So if you talk about tacos versus pizza, if Little Caesars raises their prices, you may go get tacos more. If tacos decreases their prices, you may get tacos more. Okay? So just think about substitutes. Two are products that can be used in place of each other. Complements are certain goods that are often used in combination. Pizza and soft drinks, bread and butter, toothbrush and toothpaste. So things complement each other. They're sort of connected in a way. So a decrease in the price of one increases demand for the other, shifts the demand curve rightward. An increase in the price of one decreases the demand for the other. It shifts the demand curve leftward. So let's talk about that. Imagine that the price of energy you used to heat your homes has increased by 100% over the past year. So if it used to cost $100 to heat your home per month, it's now costing you $200 per month. So $1,200 per year is now $2,400 per year. That is a huge difference. Identify different ways such a price increase would affect your life. What products would you buy more of? Okay, put yourself in your parents' shoes. How could you help? Would you invest in some home insulation? Go buy a few more sweaters? Maybe replace your windows so that the heat that you do purchase stays in your house and doesn't leak to the outside? What would you demand less of? You may take shorter showers because it costs money to heat water. You may put off some new home additions. You may not heat your swimming pool. So that would be things that you would demand less of if the price of energy increased that much. And how do these changes demonstrate changes in demand that result from changes in the price of substitute and complementary products? How do these changes demonstrate? So, as the prices change, demand and things will change. So maybe the demand of windows will increase, the demand of insulation will increase. The demand of new pool heaters would decrease. So those are all substitute and complementary products. Changes in the size or composition of the population. The market demand curve is the horizontal sum of individual demand curves of all consumers in the market. We talked about that when we talked about individual demand versus market demand. If the population grows, the number of consumers in the market increases, so demand increases. If you look here, if population grows, the demand curve for pizza shifts rightward. That means it increases when it shifts rightward. If the total population stays the same, but the teen population increases, the pizza demand would shift rightward. Rightward means it increases. A baby boom would increase the demand for car seats and baby food. That means it would shift rightward. Changes in consumer expectations. A change in consumer expectations would shift the demand curve. Prices. If you expect pizza prices to jump next week, you may buy an extra one today for the freezer, thereby shifting the demand curve for pizza rightward. So if you expect pizza prices to jump next week, you may buy more this week, which would increase your demand curve. Shifting rightward means increasing it. Income. If you get a summer job, your demand for some goods may increase. You are anticipating a paycheck and want to buy certain items. Changes in consumer tastes. Tastes are your likes and dislikes as a consumer. Tastes are assumed to remain constant along a given demand curve. Influences, which would be family background, surrounding culture, peer influences, all shape many of your tastes. Change in taste is difficult to isolate from other economic changes. That's why economists attribute a change in demand to a change in tastes only as a last resort, after ruling out other possible explanations. So changes in consumer taste are very, very difficult to really analyze and look at. So economists don't use it very often. Let's talk about it. Demand for many products is seasonal. How much would your family be willing to pay for a cut evergreen tree in July? Notice, cut means it's going to die. Like, it's not planted in your backyard, you cut it down. And that's what some people put in their house at Christmas time. Why are many families willing to pay as much as $100 for this item at the beginning of December? But we wouldn't pay a dime for it in July. Why would a business be unlikely to sell many colored eggs in November or pumpkins in February? How do these situations demonstrate changes in demand that take place as tastes change during each year? Again, we're not going to buy colored eggs in November because it's an Easter thing. Pumpkins in February, as much as I love pumpkin flavored everything, I'm not interested as much in February as I am in, say, September and October. So demand for seasonal products does change, but economists can account for that because we understand seasons. And movement along a demand curve versus a shift of the demand curve. A change in price, other things constant, causes a movement along a demand curve, changing the quantity demanded. I can't draw on this right now, I can't figure out how, but if we had a demand curve here, with the curve, a change in price causes a movement along the demand curve. You stay on that graph, changing the quantity demanded. A change in one of the determinants of demand other than price causes a shift of the demand curve, changing demand. That's where you have your graph and your demand curve. Okay, the curve actually moves rightward when it increases, and it moves leftward when it decreases. That would be a shift, and we'll explain it in a minute. At this point, I need you to go back to the class website and click on the video associated with this lesson. I'm going to stress that I expect you to watch the video. It's not an option, so please go back and click on it. I can't record it through the screen. It echoes too much, so please go back to the website and watch the video. Thank you.
In our previous